Hi, my beautiful people. Welcome back to another beautiful episode of The Balance with Erica B. I'm your host, Erica, and today we are going to talk about motherhood, healing, business identity, and everything in between that makes our real lives, but not just a highlight reel. So, as I stated earlier, today's episode is for the moms who have asked herself, am I enough? Am I doing enough? What am I doing? And is there a book to being a parent? I don't think there is a book of being a parent, but you know what? We all strive our best. I'm so excited for our guest today, Paula. She's the founder of Chesapeake Bay Solutions LLC, a digital marketing strategist who is passionate about helping small business owners, especially moms, streamline their own operations, growth, their visibility, oh my goodness, and build businesses that support both income and family life. So I am so excited because we've been talking for the past couple weeks and she's been hearing the formal podcast of the Balanced Boss Mom podcast. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome Paula to the podcast.
Erica, thanks for having me. I'm excited to have this conversation today. As you said, I am a digital marketing strategist, and I really have a place in my heart for working with moms in particular. I had a career as a research audiologist. So what is that? That is conducting research in the area of hearing. And I worked for the Army as a civilian for about 10 years, conducting research for our infantry soldiers. So in the Army, they say boots on the ground. Yeah.
That is
And so,
interesting.
yeah,
No more.
we'll talk about it. Looking at how we know where sounds are coming from. So that's called auditory localization, but also those soldiers being able to have radio communication, hearing protection, as well as understanding or being able to hear what's going on in their immediate environment. And having those three things function all together is quite a challenge. I loved my career. I had a lot of fun doing it. And that research training that I had allows you to look at a problem and determine how you can solve it and how you can study it and how you can collect data off of it. And that has helped me in building my business. So my kids were right about school age. And I decided that I just was being pulled in both directions, my career and family and home life. And so it made sense to me that I wanted to be the person raising my kids and not someone else. So after trying to do things part-time and teleworking and all of the combinations, I finally decided that my kids were more important than my career. And so I left my career about 15 years ago. And from that, just started looking at other things to do. And about 5 years ago, looked at building my own business and dabbled in a couple of different things and finally settled on digital marketing. And so now I'm able to work with moms who are in the same boat I was, as far as having that tug of war between a career and being at home, or wanting to start a business and not having these big chunks of time that people who are only focused on that have. There's a lot of women out there, if they've left their career, or even if they, whether they chose to leave their career or they felt that they had to, compelled to, a lot of them still have that entrepreneurial spirit and want to be able to contribute and feel that a sense of accomplishment and all of those things. And so working with them to have that balance between family life and a business is a challenge, but one that I really like helping them through.
I think it is a challenge. I think I'm in that boat too, where I do work from home, but now it's gotten to a point where my daughter is coming up to me telling me all the time, like, you're working too much. And it makes you feel bad. It makes you feel like you have that mom guilt because you're like, well, you don't understand what mommy is doing because I'm working to pay for bills and bills have to get paid. And if I don't work, then there are bills that won't get paid. And so I feel like a lot of moms that have that entrepreneurial spirit, like you said, are just stuck between a rock and a hard place where they're like trying to figure out, do I leave my corporate America job and do absolutely something that I love? Or do I stay at this job and be miserable and just not be happy with the way that I'm trying to function a 9 to 5? Because I think what's happening in the corporate America is 9 to 5 is being removed from itself. It's there's no work or life balance, to be honest with you. I feel like jobs keep saying we have a work life balance in their descriptions. And honestly, that's not true. None of these jobs have a work life balance because they see you as a number and they work you so hard with their conditions and they stress you out. Where I don't like how when you're at a job and you strive to do all your stats are probably perfect, but they find the one thing that's absolutely wrong that just makes your day just ruined. And I think a lot of, if people are in management positions and you are hearing this, I really would like you guys to take note of listen to your agents. Listen to when they're saying they are burnt out and they can't do the things that they want to function. That's where I'm kind of spirit at, where I'm stuck at. Sometimes I'll just be like, I can't do this anymore. And podcasting is fun for me. That's
Yeah.
something that I like doing. It relaxes me. It keeps me at peace. It's something where I don't have to, I'm not stressing about it. I'm not stressing about a stat or a number or stressing about like, I have to get this out today. It's on my time, versus working from home. I've been working from home since 2018. And although I like working from home, I'm getting to the point where I don't want to be on phones anymore. Like
Hmm.
I don't, my phone is on do not disturb. And people are like, why is your phone on? I said, if you work on phones, you would understand. But until you
Right.
work on a phone, you won't understand. And another thing that also kind of spearheaded this conversation for me was because I've seen people get into these management positions and think that since they have the power of authority that they can talk to you any old kind of way or just, like I said, see you as a number. But when you're asking for help, it's like, I've never worked on a phone in a day of my life. And I'm like, how did you get in a management position and you
Right.
didn't work up the ladder, but you want
Right.
everybody else to work up this category ladder of scale?
Hmm.
And one thing goes wrong and it's not worth, it just blows up in your face.
Yeah.
So how do you make, with your business, how do you create the space for moms? Do you make space for dads as well in reference to starting their own business?
So I think we have a different struggle and pressure as women and as moms. We end up being the primary caretakers for our children. We are typically the emergency contact when our kids get sick at school. And I'm not saying that there aren't relationships and marriages out there where there is, to the extent possible, a better balance in taking care of the kids. But the reality is, most of the time, it falls to the mom. And
Mhm.
even if whether she's in a career or a full time job or staying at home, they're always the one that's on call. The school is going to call them, oh, your child is in the health room and needs to be picked up.
Mhm.
I remember, so when I was working full time, where I worked was about an hour away from where I live. And we don't have family in the area, which is also one of those contributing factors on how flexible you can be with your career. And so I remember sitting at my desk and my phone rang and it was my kid's school. And they said, your daughter's here and she has a fever. And so she needs to be picked up. And I
Mhm.
said, well, I can be there in about an hour. And the nurse was like, can't someone else pick her up sooner? Like literally. And I'm like,
They
I
don't
don't
un-
have
they
family.
don't understand. They don't
Right.
understand that.
I said, I don't have family in the area. I will be there as quickly as I can. But my husband was no closer. So it wasn't like he was, 15 minutes away and I could call him. We
Mhm.
both commuted for our jobs. And so the expectation that the woman can drop everything and go, I don't think that expectation is often there for men. In fact, I think that they have a harder time communicating with their boss when they need to focus on the kids, because if they're married, I have seen that bosses are like, well, what's your wife doing? Like, shouldn't your wife be
That's
able to be called?
that's
Right.
frustrating because
Yeah.
even with my job, I was my daughter was, especially when you're like in kindergarten and in first grade, of course, they're gonna get sick. You're just going to
Right.
get sick. And I remember my phone had kept ringing and I was like, I can't, I'm at work. Like, I can't. They almost tried to fire me
Hmm.
because I was trying to go and get my kid. And I said, I'll be right back. I
Right.
said, I have to get my kid. I'll be right back. And they ended up having a meeting with me saying, like, oh, we notice a pattern. I said, well, I'm sorry, but my kid comes first. And I was like, if my daughter's school is calling and they can't get a hold of my spouse, they can't get a hold of the grandmother.
Right.
It's crazy because they tell you, they make you fill out this whole application and then say, who's the emergency contact? They want you to put 5 emergency contacts on there. And
Right.
if nobody is there around the
Yeah.
area, of
Yeah.
course the mom's going to have to drop everything. And I
Right.
wish these jobs were a little bit more laxed on that,
Hmm.
because it's funny where people that are in higher positions, they'll say, I absolutely understand what you feel.
Hmm.
And I'm like, okay, well, if you actually understand what I feel, then you would understand that my child comes first and I have to go get my child and I will come right back to fulfill my duties and stay longer, you know?
And that's just it. So, one of the benefits of being able to work from home or having a flexible schedule is you should be able to make up that time. If it takes you a half hour to go pick up your kid and then you're back, great. So many of us work through lunch anyway. At least,
Mm-hmm.
we did when I was working full time. And, we didn't have credit for that. Often we would bring work home,
Mm-hmm.
depending on what it was. And but we don't want to be stuck to a time clock. We want there to be flexibility. And sometimes we run into management who either don't trust us or they've gotten burned because people have taken advantage of the flexibility. And so I
Mm-hmm.
understand it from both sides, but I think it needs to be based on the individual. Is
Mm-hmm.
this individual likely to make up that time? And they're not just, leaving their job to go get, coffee at the local restaurant.
This is
It's
good.
only
We're
when there is when there is a critical need. You can't control when your child gets sick, right? And when the child gets sick and you don't have a support system around you, family in the area, it falls to you, one of the parents.
Mhm.
And that's just what can be so frustrating. But even when you start your own business, you're still going to be on call. And so the question is, how do you balance that, right?
Mhm.
And one of the ways is to plan out your tasks that you need to do for your business around that possibility that at any point you might have to drop everything, but also taking advantage of the chunks of time that are predictable. For instance, at a sporting event or an activity where your child is involved, but you don't need to be. Is there a pocket of time, even if it's just 20 minutes to a half an hour, where
Mhm.
you could be drafting emails or putting together social media content or whatever those small tasks are, but really planning ahead for those instead of just hoping that you'll think of something when you have those bits of time. That can be one of the ways that you can balance building your business along with still being present for your kids.
And see, I like that because I like to try to do things like send out stuff a week before
Mhm.
everything. And sometimes with the way my job is very, very, I'm on the phones all day.
Right.
And so, like, by the time I get off, I'm kind of like, all right, I need a couple minutes, but here comes the knocks at the door. Hey, are you done working? What are
Yeah.
you doing? Mom, where are you at? Mom, what are you doing? Hey, babe, I saw this great commercial and I want you to talk about it. And I'm just like, I just had the longest 8 hours of my life. I'd rather build social media content at this point instead of having the knocks at the door. And
Right.
don't get me wrong, love my daughter down and I
Yeah.
love my spouse down, but sometimes he sees it and he understands, and now he's like, hey, give your mom 30 minutes. She just got off of work. She's tired. She's exhausted. Or now it's gotten to the point where I'm falling asleep on the couch and I'm tired. And it's gotten me thinking more of I want to create, not just create a legacy, but create my own to where I'm happy in my own space. Like I've heard entrepreneurs all the time. It's a lot harder building your business than doing a 9 to 5 because there's a lot more that goes into it, you know?
Well,
And
and you don't, you were talking about having the management who dictates what you're doing. When you're
mhm,
an entrepreneur, it's all on you. Not
mhm,
only do you need to figure out what needs to be done, but then you need to prioritize those tasks, and you don't have the accountability that you would have in a 9 to 5 job where somebody is asking, have you completed that project? And, where are we on this sort of thing?
mhm.
So that is definitely challenging.
It
Absolutely.
is. And so like I try my best, like I said, like you stated, build those tasks around the time,
Mhm.
especially when it comes on weekends. I kind of like try to wake up early before everybody and just try to get those tasks done. And then if I have an interview later on the day, I'm like, hey, I got an interview, you guys, like just a second here, and then I'll be right back. But now that I am creating a new brand, I kind of understand a little bit more of the accountability for myself,
Sure.
where I'm like, okay, I've got a new brand. I'm taking the next step on announcing it. I'm taking the next step on creating the content for it and just having fun with it. I feel like with a 9 to 5, it's not fun anymore.
Mm.
It's very robotic. I had something the other day. I wasn't even 19 minutes into my shift. I wasn't even 19 minutes in. And I get a message, hey, Erica, can we talk? And I'm like, you can't wait until I just start my shift and then kind of ruin my day. You want to ruin my day 19 minutes in. So 19 minutes in, we ruined Erica's day. So after that, my whole day was just ruined because I was like, what? Like, I don't even want to talk to you. And it sucks to the point where I have gotten to the point where I used to say good morning all the time. I'd be
Mhm.
like, good morning. Hi, everybody. How are you doing? To now people are like, dang, I didn't even notice Erica's there. Is she even here? And I'm like, I'm here. I'm just going to work and go home. And I hate that now that I feel like that
Yeah.
because it's a sucky feeling to feel like I'm here at this job, but I'm not happy. I'm not happy at this job anymore.
Yeah.
And it's not fulfilling the degree that I'm getting into. I'm just not happy. And so now I'm trying to find a redirection of trying to find something else.
Mhm.
If anybody hears this podcast episode, I'm sorry, but I'm just not happy at this job anymore.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are trying to say, well, Erica, you got to look at the positive side of things. It's kind of switched your mindset and don't think of it as a punishment. I was like, how can I not think of it as a punishment when every week is, hey, Erica, can you get off the phone? Hey, Erica, can we talk? Hey, Erica, you're not doing well in your quality right now. Hey, Erica, can you not do a lot of callbacks anymore? Because, we're trying to, I've been told you're doing a lot more callbacks than anybody else. How would you feel if you had 50 million times to get off, saying, hey,
Yeah.
Erica, to get off? That's why I want to have the conversation build around of how to build your business and how to start and where to start with that.
Yeah. I was thinking back to when I was working full time and how long it took for us to reach the decision that I needed to leave my job. So the time between when we made the decision, and we being my husband and the time I actually left was about 12 to 18 months. So it wasn't a quick thing. I had realized that I was wanting to be home more than I was wanting to be at work. And for me, that was kind of the breaking point. But we needed to determine whether we could live off of my husband's salary alone and what I would do once I left my career. And so I continued to work for at least a year. And
Mm-hmm.
what our approach was, is we put my entire salary into savings so that we could have basically a trial run. Can we live off of just his salary? And once we realized that that was possible, then it was like, okay, then that took the weight off of me as far as needing my salary. And then it opened up options for us going forward. So I think that women who are considering leaving their career to stay at home with their kids, they
Mm-hmm.
need to have a plan in place and not make a rash decision to leave their career without knowing what that's going to look like, and give themselves some time. So
Mm-hmm.
if they're looking at wanting to run their own business, then take the time to to really think through what that would look like and what that would involve, both financially and time wise and energy wise. Being an entrepreneur is not easy. If it were, everyone would
No,
do it, right?
it's not. And I think we're in this time where the economy isn't. I was just talking to this with my closest friends last night. We were talking about how the economy is just not what it used to be. And I think a lot of times we see these things on TikTok, I think, that are glamorized to where we're like, you could be one hit wonder overnight and then you're set up for the rest of your life. But what if all that runs out? You know? You got to think about the plan of what if you don't have that the salary to pick up. And so I feel like my work ethic compared to my lovely spouse, love him down. My work ethic is I don't my mindset is I don't think about myself. I think about the after effect. Like, okay, what if I was to quit today?
Mm-hmm.
How would it affect the household?
Right.
Would it deplete everything on my end of things? Would it hurt on his end of side of things? Would it make him pick up a little bit more? Just I have all these thoughts. And I feel some companies I feel like I shouldn't have stayed for as long as I did.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I probably had ran my course. And I think that's what happens to me. I'll feel like I'll hit that 3 year mark and just be like, all right, ran its course. Like, I'm ready for something new. And with podcasting, I've learned so much with podcasting.
Yeah.
And I've learned that it's also an entrepreneurial business.
Yeah, absolutely.
And within that business, I've had so many people come up to me and say, Erica, are you sure are you ready to make some money from this? And I've been saying a lot of times, I said, right now, I'm not interested in the money. I'm interested in the connections and I'm
Mhm.
interested in building the relationships. I feel like connections and relationships go a lot further than what a dollar would do. Because, like I said, if that dollar turns off tomorrow, I still got to have this backup of my 9 to 5.
But wouldn't it be nice if you could replace that 9 to 5?
I'm
And
trying. Come on, Paula, help me out because I'm trying. I am trying. I was just talking to my spouse right before we had this conversation, and he was like, how are people doing the dumbest things and making $1 million? But the smartest person comes about with a plan, ready to start their own business, and can't make $1. And I said, that's a very interesting question. I said, I want to ask somebody that
oh, there
because
you go.
I want to know. Like, I think we've gotten so accustomed with social media where, like I said, it's glamorized to think that you can make money off of social media. And I've tried it, and I'm kind of
Mhm.
like, yeah, I'm on live and I'm making a couple dollars, like, woohoo. But when you look at other people's lives and you're like, how are you making $1,000 on a live? Like, can you show
Yeah.
me how to make $1,000 on a live?
Right. Right.
So, like I said, I'm trying, and I know with this rebrand, I've been told that this is going to elevate, and I do have a positive note that I feel like it's going to elevate into something different. So,
Yeah,
fingers
absolutely.
crossed.
Yeah. So as a digital marketing strategist, that's what I work through with business owners. So for instance, we're talking about monetization on social media. First of
Mm-hmm.
all, social media is great, but you don't own that platform and it can be taken away from you in the blink of an eye. And I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen for individuals. I've seen it happen for companies. So we need to be mindful of that because there's not a lot of confidence in that continuing long term. That
Mm-hmm.
said, having a combination of things that you own versus platforms that you are essentially renting space on, like social media, is the
Mm-hmm.
way to go. Things like podcasts, like what you're doing right here, you own all of these recordings, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is something that no one can take from you. You can put them on different platforms. And so that gets them out to other people. But doing things like having sponsors for your podcast, it's essentially advertising for
Mm-hmm.
you. So they ask you to mention their product and they pay you a commission based on the sales that you have, which is also very similar to affiliate marketing. So you are promoting a product
Mm-hmm.
and you receive a commission based on the sale. So
Okay.
this is the newest way that companies are spending their advertising dollars, because they have learned that people buy from people rather than companies. And so when a person endorses a product,
Mhm.
people are more likely to buy it than if they are running commercials on TV or radio or anywhere else.
I've noticed that with
Yeah,
commercials. Because, like, I see now when you look at TV how they're trying to do so many commercials all at once. And you're like, for example, YouTube.
right,
When you look at the, like a comedy show on YouTube, all of a sudden it blinks to an ad. And
right,
then it's like you got 4 or 5 ads because they're
right.
advertising those ads. Now, I do want to mention about sponsorships because I have an Amazon storefront that
Hmm.
I'm doing,
Yep.
and then I am affiliated with LifeWave on both of those platforms.
Awesome.
So I started kind of making like on my website, which I'm gonna revamp that whole thing here soon. But I had started adding like the sponsors on there, which is Lifeways and my Amazon storefront, so people can go and purchase. Like any of my guests have books and stuff like that, they
Yeah.
can go onto my Amazon storefront and click on the book that they want to listen to from the episode that they've heard before. And so I'm still trying to navigate the whole sponsorship kind of thing because I have a friend, she has a podcast too, and her podcast just made 100 episodes. Her name is Sam. Shout out, Sam. I'm shouting you out, my friend. But she's also a UGC creator.
Okay.
And she was like, Erica, you gotta try the UGC like thing. And I was like, I don't even know where to start. Like I've been hearing
Sure.
about UGC and I've been hearing about the contracts and stuff, but I was like, how do I mix my podcast into UGC? And she was like, Erica, you started your platform about talking about being a mom. She's like,
Yeah.
why don't you just do the mom content on your personal page? Because I have like 835 people on my personal page alone,
Nice.
which is crazy. I would love for that to transfer over to the podcast. Okay. Trying to get it to transfer. That's why I post on both pages because I'm trying to get it people to be like, okay, I like it. I see what she has on her, the episode coming out, and
Yeah.
transfer it to the podcast on
Yeah.
the Instagram. So I'm working all angles, and one of the things I feel like I wish I went to school for was communications and media. I wish I would have just I'm so bent on being in the medical field. That's just been my dream
Right.
to get into the medical field. I'm in the medical field, but on the insurance side of things, and I don't
Right.
want to do that anymore. I've learned that. My mom, she warned me like a long time ago. She said, Erica, you don't want to ever get an insurance. If you get an insurance, you're going to get stuck. And I was like, Mom, that's not going to get stuck. I'm stuck. So now I'm trying to get out that realm. And I've been told by so many different people, Erica, you're so good at social media. What have you done with your life? And I was like, well, went to school again, had a baby,
Yeah.
and just life.
Yeah. Well,
Well,
there are
I'm
lots of things that there are lots
Mhm.
of skills and knowledge that you can gain without having to go back to school. So that is, the positive message I have for everybody that's listening is there are lots of things that you can learn how to do. So circling back to, making money on social media and the
Mhm.
UGC. So UGC, user generated content, is the latest version of affiliate marketing, right? Because
Really?
these companies are asking
Ooh.
you, yeah, these companies are asking you to create content around their product. They're
Mhm.
using it as advertising. And then when you're making sales, there are multiple ways that you can get paid from doing that. But so what's important is that you have a cohesive framework between your website, your social media, and any small business out there needs to be developing an email list. Building an email list is
Mhm.
key because that is the one channel that you control completely.
Okay.
You control when emails are sent out. You control what is in the emails, and you can monitor, depending on the system that you're using, you could monitor the percentage of people who are actually opening the emails. And in those emails, you are strategically building the know, like, and trust factor of your audience, because people buy from people. So
Mm-hmm.
when they are ready to buy, if they know you and they like you, then they are likely to purchase something that you either recommend or are offering from something that you have created. So that's really, and it's a long goal. It's not something that you can do
Do
very
overnight.
quickly, suddenly, and it needs to be consistent, because no one likes the emails that just come out that say, buy this, buy this, buy this, right? They want to have emails that have value to them. So they provide them with information, or, well, I mean, it's information. They they allow them to get to know you, and then they begin to trust you. You are no longer a stranger. You have things that you can relate to them about. So for you, looking at addressing people as moms and that experience of motherhood, then sharing some of those stories about your struggles and your successes with being a mom, even with being a mom and working. What does that look like? And how have you managed to find some balance when balance isn't necessarily provided by your employer? So those are ways to do that. Mm-hmm.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So with this little lovely rebrand,
Yeah.
the email listing has been a little nervous for me, only because I feel like I'm doing it wrong, possibly. Maybe I've made a new email address for the podcast, right? And once again, send out a mass email, comes back, hey Erica, can you delete me out the mass email? Fine. But where I think I'm struggling is trying, like you said, the value of putting the information in,
Mm-hmm.
because I put it on my website for people to see. Like, for example, I have a whole list of meet the guests. So each episode I put the guest information on there. I put the recap of the episode, and then like the links for everybody of where they can follow. And people are liking that. I've taken note that people like the meet the guests.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't make like a standard email list yet, because I'm like, just trying to get this out here. Like, comment,
Right.
subscribe.
Right.
Yay. But then I get so nervous and I get in a shell where I'm like, well, what if nobody likes the email that I sent out? Or, for example, now that I've been backed up for like 7 weeks, I'm kind of nervous to put out a new episode every Friday, because it's like, is it going to still pick up the same traction that I had before? So, those kind of things I'm trying to navigate and figure that out, where I think I'm going to still keep doing the Fridays at 6:30 because it's helped
Right. Well, and
versus
you
anything.
have a record of people knowing that it comes out at that time, that day and that time. So the best thing to do is continue with that.
Mhm.
If that changes as far as your listening numbers drop or something, then it's time to make a change. But on your emailing, it's important for businesses to be using either an email marketing system, EMS,
Mhm.
or a CRM, which is a customer relationship manager. So those are both software programs, platforms that send your emails out that comply with spam rules, laws. So any email that you're sending out to multiple people needs to have the ability for someone to unsubscribe directly from it. And you have to
Okay.
honor that.
I get it
So
now. I
yeah.
understand
So
that.
and when you're using an EMS or CRM, the email that a person receives looks like it just came directly to them, as opposed to going to out to a lot of people. So it's important as a business to have that. And then building your list, having a way to draw people in to subscribe to your list. Oftentimes that is what's called a lead magnet, or some people call them a freebie, but it's
Mhm.
some sort of information, something of importance that you exchange for someone's contact information. And
Okay.
so on a podcast, perhaps it is information that you share on a regular basis on your podcast. Things like, tips for moms trying to find balance between work and family, things like that. Something that draws someone in and they're willing to exchange their email address. And again, if done as a business, most people know that once they subscribe to your list, they're not locked in, that at any
Mhm.
point they can unsubscribe. So
Okay.
we try not to I try not to, stress too much about whether someone is going to appreciate the emails that I'm sending, because if they don't want to have them anymore, that's
They can
okay. They
just
can
unsubscribe
unsubscribe.
to it.
Yep.
Okay. Because,
Yep.
like, on my website, I have, like, I can do the email list like that on my website where I can
Mhm.
generate and send out. But once again, I'm still trying to figure out, like, what to send out because now I
Sure.
have to change everything.
Yeah.
And so, what's our other ways in reference to, I know you said start with the plan. Are there any other helpful tips in reference to starting a business that people may not know?
Yes. So, one of the biggest things that I think is important, particularly for women who are starting businesses, is finding your people. Get a community, start interacting with other women who are doing the same thing you are, not necessarily the same business, but who are building a business alongside raising their kids, because entrepreneurship can be very lonely. And when you hit the bottoms, or when you have something to celebrate, you want a community that's going to understand it and appreciate it. So you need support in both the highs and the lows. So reaching out to a community within your specific area, or these days we have so many assets online,
Mhm.
resources online. Don't be afraid to jump into one of those communities that is supportive. And from my perspective, we can all win. Like,
Mhm.
supporting other women in their businesses
Right.
does not detract from your own. And even if you are running similar businesses, people will be attracted to each of you differently. So the
Mhm.
people who are interested in working with me would not necessarily be the people that would be interested in working with someone else, and vice versa. So we can all win. And when we are supporting each other, we're making that happen. So develop that community. And I think the earlier you do that, the better
Mhm.
off you're going to be. You're going to be learning from other people. You're going to be benefiting from them telling you stories of things that they tried that didn't turn out well. They're going to save you from learning the same mistake that they made.
Mhm.
And they're going to be able to give you ideas for expanding your
I
business.
love learn. Me personally, I'm the type
Yeah.
of person where I love learning because I love
Yeah.
learning new things. I told myself 3 things for summer. I'm
There you
going to
go.
continue to elevate my podcast and
Yeah.
continue to stop being afraid and being fearful of nobody not liking it. I've
Yeah.
already got the traction, and
Yeah.
you see it in the group that I got it. I've told myself I'm going to learn how to crochet for the summer.
Nice. I crochet. So,
Oh,
yep.
I'm so mad at myself because I feel like I'd be like, "What in the world is happening?" And then I get frustrated. So
Sure.
I'm not gonna get frustrated. I'm gonna take my time. Outside of crafting, because I know how to make like t-shirts and stuff like that, I'm gonna
Yeah.
learn how to sew.
Nice.
So those are the 3 things that I'm going to do for the summer. I'm trying to get my daughter out there too. She wants to go to art camp and all that type
Yeah.
of stuff. So I like how that you're sharing the resources to owning a business, because in this closing of this episode, if anybody is interested in learning how to make your own business or just need help with their own business, y'all go to Paula. Okay. My homie is awesome. Just want to let you know. Anyways, if you guys like this episode, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Like I said, you have now entered the world of Erica. You have been welcome to the shit show. That's what we always say at the end of the day. Welcome to the
Okay.
shit show. So, like I stated, if you are just afraid to take a jump or a leap in your business, take that leap, because you never know what that might lead to. Create the relationships that you need to create and just have fun. That's what I'm doing. And I find that podcasting is fun. I just even got my best friend into it. So she's about to start doing hers. So, like I said, just have fun with it. If you guys have any questions, concerns, feel free to reach out to the balance with Erica B at gmail.com. Again, I'm on all platforms. We are coming back. We're back, baby. We're coming back. I am going to
Absolutely.
be coming back every Friday at 6:30. You'll be having new episodes visually and audio. So I'm streaming on Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to except for XM Radio. We're just going to say that. Okay.
There you go.
Until next time, Paula, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I am so happy that we did this episode, and I hope you
Thanks
come
for
back
having me.
soon.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I had a great time.
Before I forget, this little note. Tell people where you want to be found at. Totally.
Sure. My business is Chesapeake Bay Solutions. For those that don't know, I'm located in Maryland, which is the mouth of the Chesapeake Bay. So you can reach me at chesapeakebaysolutions.com or on Facebook.
All right, you guys heard her. Well, you guys, I'm going to let Paula go because she has a business to run. Okay. All right, guys. Bye.
Bye.